Thieving Mailmen, alt starting to offload their Marvel PMGs. This week's video is going to be pretty interesting. Hey everyone, Dan the Cardman back again. Welcome to another weekly trading card news video. So these videos basically, as you know, cover some of the news that have happened within the hobby over the past week that you may have missed. I share my thoughts and try and keep you informed. Now, today's video is just going to cover two quick topics. One being Mailman, basically fraud, stealing packages. I'll give you my thoughts on that, and then we'll quickly touch on some movements that are happening with Marvel PMGs. So we'll quickly get started. Let me just zoom this in. So this news is a bit old now. I'm sure some things have updated since then, so he may have already been jailed. But basically what has happened is, and you've probably seen this happen quite a bit, right? Where this mailman is stealing packages, okay? And he's stealing them fairly consistently over a 2 or 3 year period, if I recall. Now, he's stolen around $40,000 worth of, like USD worth of trading cards, sports cards in particular, which is quite a lot, right? 94 sports cards in total. Now, what was happening is that this individual was basically stealing the cards from the packages and then was selling them to sports card stores, right? Still in his uniform, right? And like, that might not raise a few suspicions, but obviously it did in the end when some customers started complaining, because what happened was that there was some individuals that were getting cards purchased, either selling or purchased consistently, and the cards kept going missing. So they eventually reported it to Postal Service. They've looked into it and then they've identified this person who has since pled guilty. So it's a 26-year-old in Missouri. Now, he's facing up to 5 years jail, it says somewhere down here. It's pretty crazy. They haven't found all the cards. I think they've found like 11 at this one store and then 4 at another store. It's just a bit ridiculous, right? And I see it happening quite a bit. In particular, I've heard stories around it happening to people submitting cards that get sent off for grading, right? And then it's also happening to people that are sending cards to ship my cards. Now, if you're an individual, right? If you're a mailman and you're going to be inclined to try and be a thief, right? You're going to steal cards. You're going to be a shit bloke. If you know cards are going to a certain place, you know what that certain place is. I.e., it's a distribution center, it's for PSA, it's for ship my cards, or you know that it's like Cherry Collectibles here in Australia, for example. They send out cards, thousands of cards every day. As soon as you see Cherry Collectibles on the label, you're going to know that's a trading card, right? I'm going to keep it. So that's obviously what this person was doing. But the point I'm trying to make is, okay, if you are going to be doing those kinds of things, purchasing cards from large stores, sending cards off to get grading, sending cards off to ship my cards, if there's an option to pay for track services, always use that track service, because it's going to avoid things like this happening, right? Where, well, okay, won't avoid it necessarily. Like, you'll still have things go missing, things get stolen, things get lost in the mail, but it'll help them track it down a little bit better. And I've got a good example of that, right? I purchased 2 Dragon Ball Z booster packs, quite rare ones, back in December, and they ended up going missing, right, for around a month. And I finally got in touch with the seller who didn't upload a tracking number. He gave me the tracking number and I contacted USPS myself. They looked into it and about 2 months later, they found it. And they can only find it using the tracking number. And if, for example, an individual has stolen the package, all right, and you might not be asking, how's the tracking number relevant? What they can do is that tracking number is like linked, right? And they'd have information that shows a distribution to which driver it's potentially gone to, right, on that day. So then they can go ahead and ask them questions if they need to. So, like I said, please always use tracking and things like that, because that'll help you avoid things like this, because there's people like this in the world that are wanting to rip people off. It's not new. Mail fraud's not a new thing, right? But as sports cards continue to get more and more valuable and people become more and more aware of who they're going to, where they're going to, what these places mean, as in the stores and things like that, you're going to see this more often, right? It's good he's been caught. Imagine facing up to 5 years in jail because you stole $40,000 worth of stuff, right? It's just mental. Like, I don't get it. People are dumb. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Have you ever had cards stolen in the mail? Like I said, I think those 2 packs were potentially stolen that I mentioned, just because of how coy USPS were when they gave me an update. They found it in the end. I didn't care. I was happy that I had it in the end because I had the tracking to sort of save my ass, right? Now, finally, this is pretty interesting as well. I won't touch on this for too long, but as you guys know, pretty frequently over the last 2 months, I've given my thoughts on a weekly basis regarding some of these movements with Marvel PMGs and sort of what's happening. And for those that might be unaware, what's sort of happened over like the last 18 months is that you've had a lot of venture capitalists come into the hobby. In particular, these guys out at Alt who are basically an online auction platform, right? They've been buying up so many Marvel PMGs, and it doesn't matter sort of what the prices are going for, where they're listed. They're just buying them, getting that stockpile up, getting that inventory, and then that allows them to then set a new floor and offload the cards. So if you get to think, Marvel PMGs are obviously always interested, right? But collectors wouldn't pay tens of thousands of dollars for them. So Alt buys them all for tens of thousands of dollars. It pushes the market price up, or the inflated market price, because you as a collector would see all these PMGs have sold for like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. The market must appreciate them. And in reality, it's Alt buying all those, right? So there's really no real market demand. But now that it's sort of there, because people are seeing the value in it, Marvel is obviously a huge IP. Precious metal gems are a huge thing within the hobby right now. It's getting a resurgence, right? Because it's like the best 90s inserts. So all these things that are probably saying to people, okay, now I want to jump in on them, right? And you would have seen people like Roth Cards, who's pretty big, you call him a card influencer, right? Is now getting into them as well. So you've got all these externalities now coming in and sort of establishing the price. So what Alt, and I guess the point I'm trying to make is, and what Extrinsic Collections has identified, is they've started to offload a couple of them. And they've sold 4, these 4 in particular, not super big characters, like obviously Human Torch and Mr. Fantastic are from a Fantastic Four perspective. From a comic book perspective, it's one of Marvel's biggest IPs, and it basically kicked off the Silver Age of comics. But from a movie perspective, that hasn't really kicked on yet. Captain Marvel, maybe. But they've offloaded them, and only one of them sold at a loss, less than what they paid, right? So it's pretty interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. And I touched on this in my last video, and a few people mentioned that I mentioned it was going to be like sort of passing the bag, where Alt's going to establish this new floor, and then they're going to start offloading stuff, and then not even a week later, they've started doing it, right? They're going to be smart about this. They're not going to do it all in one go. There's not going to be a huge pump and dump, like similar to like crypto and stocks and things like that. When people do pump and dumps, you don't do it so quickly because you want to try and minimize against losses, right? As a seller, right? Because if you start dropping everything at once, the market's going to be like, well, heck on, there's too much demand. There's too much supply. Sorry, there's not enough demand. The amount you're going to get for each sale is going to get reduced every time, right? So if you do a handful, like 3 or 4 every week or every month, then you're going to maximize that opportunity to make money. So that's sort of what's happening. I think we're going to see more of it, to be honest. They've got such a huge inventory now that I think they're probably going to start selling these off and trickle them out into the market. So basically, just be careful. Let me know your thoughts if you own any. I mentioned this last time as well, but just let me know your thoughts around what these are probably going to go for. Like, where you think the hobby's going to go with these. Like, are we going to appreciate them? Are they going to just fizzle out once Alt starts trying to offload their bag? I know I've rambled a little bit for like the last couple of minutes, but just let me know. It's interesting that Captain Marvel's the only one that traded down. All the other ones closed at more than what Alt paid, right? Which is pretty good. Like, they probably could, I hypothetically say they overpaid for them in the first place, but it's pretty good for them. I'm just, similar to what I said last week, I think we're going to start seeing some of these things get offloaded pretty quickly, and then people are probably going to get stuck with a very expensive card that the market doesn't necessarily want. So, and obviously that won't hold strong for every single one of these. I think some of these will remain value forever, sort of like Wolverine's, key characters like Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Captain America, sorry, things like that. But some of these other ones, maybe not so much. So like I said, let me know your thoughts down below. Very quick news video today. Just 2 things I wanted to talk about. There's some other things that have happened, but I don't want to go into those. So thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.